Grayson McCall hits the portal, and let's preview the Myrtle Beach Bowl, Marshall versus UConn. It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Sunbelt. I'm your host, Dave Schultz. I host afternoons on Sports Radio 105.5 WNSP here in Mobile, Alabama, covering the South Alabama Jaguars. And prior to that, doing mornings on 103.7 The Game in Lafayette, Louisiana, covering the Louisiana Raging Cajuns. This episode of Locked On Sunbelt is brought to you by Sling TV. Sling has something for everyone, especially when it comes to college football coverage. With a massive lineup of games across the ACC, Big Ten, Pac-12, and SEC, I can always catch the games I want on Sling TV, and now you can too. Check out Sling TV to see the massive lineup of games they have all season long. Sling, the TV you love for the price you love. Try it today. Before we get to preview the Myrtle Beach Bowl, Marshall versus UConn, huge news hitting the Sun Belt today. Grayson McCall, the three-time Sun Belt Player of the Year, quarterback in Coastal Carolina, heading to the portal. He is in the transfer portal. His head coach, Jamie Chadwell, taking the job with a Liberty in place of Hugh Freeze. This is what Grayson McCall posted on Twitter. It was at about 1:49 p.m. Monday afternoon. Nothing I can put into words can truly explain my love and appreciation for this place. I'm so thankful for all the memories I've made in Conway, and I wouldn't trade my time here for anything. It's been an absolute honor to be the quarterback at Coastal Carolina for the past 3 seasons. I've enjoyed it more than anything, and I'll never forget what it was like. Putting on that teal jersey is a special feeling I never took for granted. The relationships I've built here will last a lifetime, and I'm forever grateful for that. I want to thank my teammates, coaching staff, and administration for always having my back and trusting me no matter what. I want to thank my family and best friends for sticking with me through thick and thin. This has been extremely hard for me, but after much prayer and careful consideration, I've decided to enter my name into the transfer portal to explore other opportunities. No matter what happens, Conway is always home, and I'll forever be a Chanticleer. This is the important part at the bottom. I will play in the bowl game and finish what I started. Thank you, CCU. Grayson McCall, number 10. So that is a little bit of big news that he is going to play in the bowl game. Otherwise, they would end their season like losing 3 in a row because, they lost to James Madison. They lost to they lost to James Madison. That was it. They beat Southern Miss, and they lost to James Madison. They got another loss in there somewhere. Maybe not. Maybe they just lost to Southern Miss. Or not Southern Miss. Just to James Madison. Now I got to check it out. Now that's going to bother me because they only lost 2 ball games, I thought, this year. And one of them was to Old Dominion, and the other one is to James Madison. No, they lost 3 times. They lost to James Madison and Troy. They lost to Troy. They lost to James Madison, and then they went to Troy to play the Sun Belt Conference Championship, so they've lost both games. So I was right originally. So they could lose 3 in a row if they don't win this bowl game. And the bowl game is the Birmingham Bowl. So they're coming to Alabama, going to Birmingham, and they're playing on Tuesday, December 27th. So they could be spending Christmas in Birmingham. Nothing better than spending Christmas in Birmingham. They are taking on East Carolina. East Carolina, as it turns out, is favored by 9 points right now. That is interesting. And again, the big part of him, I don't think leaving is the biggest surprise. It certainly is a bombshell. And the word is he's very interested in Auburn University. On my show today, it was reported, Lindsey Crosby from Auburn Daily reported that when Hugh Freeze took the Auburn job, Grayson McCall reached out to him. Apparently, there may be interest in him going to Florida as well. Anthony Richardson moving on from the Gators. They seem to have some other guys, though. we'll see what Billy Napier wants to do. But boy, Grayson McCall still has 2 years of eligibility left. If he goes to Auburn, that would be huge for the Tigers. But it's also big for, the Sun Belt because it's changing very quickly. James Madison may be the best team in the East. They were the best team in the East this year. They won the division. They beat Coastal. Grayson McCall or no Grayson McCall. All right. And Grayson McCall did not play in that football game. But James Madison had one of the best offenses and one of the best defenses in the country. And quickly we're seeing a shift. It's almost like when App State came into the conference and Georgia Southern came into the conference. These teams are used to winning. Coastal Carolina, I doubt will challenge next year for the conference. They need a quarterback out of that portal. The guys there won't get it done. So does James Madison, for that fact of the matter. But we will see. And we did have Kurt Signetti on and says, hey, I may not be the biggest fan of the portal, but it's here, and I'm going to take advantage of it. I mean, James Madison finished 8-3 overall and 6-2 in the conference. They had a game. Remember, they had one less game due to their game against Virginia being canceled after the tragedy that happened in Charlottesville. Coastal Carolina finished 9-3, also 6-2 in the conference. And we'll see. Old Dominion's going through a bunch of changes. App State's going to break in a new quarterback. I got to believe Georgia Southern's breaking in a quarterback. Marshall, which we will get to, I think broke in their new quarterback this year. So we will get to that. So it's going to be very interesting. That Eastern Conference is going to be up for grabs. Where, although Troy, I believe he has to leave, I don't believe Carlton Marshall has, another 10 years worth of college eligibility. So Troy's going to have to probably replace a lot of guys on defense, and including Carlton Marshall, the NCAA's all-time leading tackler. But you kind of figure that the top of the division is relatively going to stay the same, maybe in a different order. Troy, South Alabama, Southern Miss, and Louisiana. The big question is going to be Texas State. And we mentioned this yesterday that G.J. Kinney coming in is going to light up that scoreboard, and I'm going to believe him. He's going to find the quarterback or two that will light up the scoreboard. He's not going to sit around and try and figure out the Sun Belt. He may not have it right defensively to begin with, but you're not going to beat Texas State scoring, 24 points. You're going to have to put up some points to beat Texas State. But again, the big news is Coastal Carolina's quarterback, Grayson McCall, has decided to go into the portal, and it'll be very interesting to see. I guess Tim Beck is the new head coach at Coastal Carolina from NC State, right? He was brought in, and that's who they wanted, and they've been going after him this whole time. So it'll be interesting to see how this affects Coastal Carolina and where Grayson McCall ends up, because it will be very, very interesting. All right, we spoke a little bit on the Marshall Thundering Herd. We will do them next. They are taking on UConn, who, what a turnaround season for the UConn Huskies. Jim Mora Jr. taking over what maybe not the toughest place to coach in the world, but certainly maybe the most difficult, maybe the worst FBS program in America. It was them and ULM, and both him and, for that fact of the matter, Tommy Bowden over at ULM have done really good jobs. Coastal Carolina, or I'm sorry, UConn has done a little bit better. Terry Bowden has done a really good job at ULM. All right, so we will come back and preview the Marshall-UConn Myrtle Beach bowl game. UConn has improved dramatically. And let me first tell you about Omaha Steaks, because this is a great time to get a gift. My brothers actually bought me a Omaha Steak gift set a while ago, and it was delicious. I loved it. I mean, How can you do any better than that? The holidays are here, and you can achieve gifting greatness when you give the gift of perfectly aged, tender, and delicious Omaha Steaks. The steak experts at Omaha Steaks have put together special gift packages to help take the guesswork out of gifting and making you a holiday hero. Go to omahasteaks.com and use code LOCKEDON at checkout to get $30 off your order. Send an assortment of mouthwatering favorites, guaranteed to impress, like the legendary Butcher's Cut Filet Mignon, air-chilled boneless chicken, ultra juicy burgers, and an even easy to prepare comfort meals that are ready in a flash. Omaha Steaks is ready to ship your order right away, so shop early and beat the shipping rush. Go to omahasteaks.com and use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout. Omaha Steaks is a gift from the heart, a gift that will be remembered with every unforgettable bite. Order with complete confidence today, knowing you're ordering the very best. Visit omahasteaks.com, use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout to get that $30 off your order. Minimum order may be required. All right, back with more Locked On Sunbelt. I'm your host, Dave Schultz, and this is your team every day. So we've been previewing these bowl games, and we got an interesting one. It was an up and down season for the Marshall Thundering Herd. They were part of that. They're taking on UConn Monday, the 19th. So a week from yesterday. And we're previewing these in order. We did UTSA and Troy. We did Rice and Southern Miss. And now we're doing Marshall and UConn. And that's going to be a 1:30 p.m. Central Time game. So I guess 2:30 Eastern on Monday, the 19th. Marshall 8-4, UConn 6-6. So Marshall had this up and down season. Charles Huff, in his second year with the Thundering Herd, formerly of Nick Saban's staff, actually went to the New Orleans Bowl last year, and he got Levi Lewis is what happened. Levi could not miss after, I think, Marshall put up a good fight for about a quarter and a half, and then it was all Levi Lewis and the Raging Cajuns. They kind of got taken to the woodshed towards the end of the ball game. But Marshall beat Norfolk State, and then they were one of those three Sun Belt teams on that second week of the season, including Georgia Southern over Nebraska and App State over A&M, and it was Marshall beating Notre Dame 26-21. And they're starting out 2-0. But something happened with their offensive line coach. I don't know what happened, but he left the program. So they go to Bowling Green, and they lose to Bowling Green 34-31. Let me see where Bowling Green finished up. They didn't finish up too poorly. 6-6 overall, 5-3 in the MAC. But coming off a ball game, and they got up 14-0 in that ball game against Bowling Green. Then they lost a tough game at Troy. Okay, Troy's pretty good. They lost 16-7. They beat Gardner-Webb, and then a tough loss was on a short week against the Cajuns, and they were right there in the football game, and Marshall lined up over center on a punt, which you can't do. You can't line up over the center and hit the center after he snaps the ball. So that ended up being a penalty. Cajuns take advantage, score a touchdown, and Marshall never had a chance after that. Then they took advantage of Todd Centeio being out for James Madison. They beat James Madison 26-12. They lose to Coastal and Grayson McCall, which, again, no shame in that. But then they blank Old Dominion 12-0. They defeat App State 28-21. They completely shut down, although not shut out, Georgia Southern 23-10. They're a high-flying offense. They gave up only 10 points. And Georgia State, they beat 28-23. Marshall is first in the Sun Belt in points allowed at 16.2 points a game. They give up less than 90 yards rushing a game. This is going to be a tough test for Connecticut, who is coming in, I think, relatively hot outside of maybe their last football game. They got off to a brutal start. Again, UConn being from the Northeast, and Paul Pasqualoni was up there, and some others, And it's been a mess. They've gone independent. They're not part of a conference. They lost to Utah State 31-20. They did beat Central Connecticut 28-3, but then Syracuse blew them out 48-14. They got embarrassed by Michigan 59-0, and they lost to NC State 41-10. But then they beat Fresno State. They beat FIU. They lost to Ball State in a close ball game. They beat Boston College, which was huge, 13-3. They beat UMass, which gives them, closer to bowl eligibility, but UMass is one of the worst teams in college football, but they're FCS school. And then when Hugh Freeze is looking to check out to go to Auburn, they beat Liberty 33-36. We'll try that again. They beat Liberty 36-33. They did lose to Army 34-17, but they won at one point in time 5 out of their last 7 ball games. Pretty good, and that's after starting out 1-4. And so when you listen to these statistics, excuse me, when you listen to these statistics, they do not sound great. Let's see if we can get this bowl matchup here, because they give up a lot of points and a lot of yards, but it has improved dramatically. Comparably so. All right, so UConn, they only scored 20 points a game. Marshall scores 24. Marshall only gives up, as we mentioned, 16 points a game. UConn gives up 26. So that's total, all right? Offensively, Marshall's 400 yards a game. UConn's only 300. And Marshall gives up less than 300 a game. Excuse me. And UConn, 386 a ball game. But if you go back to those, what I say, final 7 ball games, listen to how many points the opponent scored. Fresno State scored 14. FIU scored 12. Ball State, in a win, scored 25. Boston College scored 3. UMass scored 10. Liberty and Army put up a bunch of points, 33 and 34. But nonetheless, in the last 7 ball games, make sure that's right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, they gave up an average of 18.5 points a game, 18.7 points a game. That's basically a touchdown and 2-point conversion less than they were giving up before. So they have improved dramatically. They probably took advantage of a couple of, Liberty. Probably shouldn't have lost Army like they did, but it will be interesting to see on how UConn, again, they're bad. They were very bad for a long time. And not only bad, but they were embarrassingly bad. And then they became, wow, they're competing. Wow, they're winning. Wow, they're going to a bowl game. Certainly don't know as much about UConn as I do about Marshall. They went to Cam Fancher, their young quarterback. He's got 8 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. And they now have, remember, they actually now have a 2-headed monster in the backfield. Supposed to be leading the way this year was Rasheen Ali. He basically, I think he led the nation in rushing touchdowns last year. Something along those lines, freshman. And right before the season started, he backed out. Not sure exactly what happened. Seems to be that it wasn't a physical injury, so hopefully he got things together mentally and had his, if this is what it was, a mental health issue taken care of, and he came back. A couple weeks left in the season. He came back only averaging 5.7 yards a carry. But Kalen Laybourne really did the heavy lifting this year for Marshall, and he did a really good job. 16 touchdowns on the ground, 1,423 yards on the ground as well. So it is really Kalen Laybourne and Rasheen Ali are your rushing guys. Cam Fancher also was second on the team in rushing with 456 yards. So Charles Huff and Marshall heading over to Myrtle Beach. I presume that's Conway. They're going to play in Coastal's stadium is my guess. And they will be playing a UConn. Let's see what the line is. I'm going to take Marshall. I'm sure it's got to be at least a touchdown, right? I mean, this is what it's going to be. It's 10 points, and I will take Marshall in this one. Bowl games are not easy, man. Bowl games are tough. It is not the easiest thing to get ready for a team you haven't seen or know anything about, and you got to make adjustments quickly. And so we'll see, who's going to be ready. And then you got everything else that's going on with the portal, National Signing Day. And they actually are done before National Signing Day on the 19th. So they get to take care of that at the time. Okay. We'll come back right after this and continue with more Locked On Sunbelt. But I do want to take just a minute to tell you about something you need to hear. You got to try this. I'm talking about Built Bar's new reimagined flavors: cookie dough topper, coconut brownie bar, and coconut brownie topper, plus white chocolate peppermint granola. It's Built Bar's take on granola bar, so it's more than filling and still incredibly tasty. And candy cane brownie puff. Built Puffs are like biting into the universe's most delicious cloud. First off, for anyone who hasn't tried Built Bars before, they're literally the best tasting protein bars ever. They're revolutionizing nutrition as we know it with 100% real chocolate, 17 grams of protein, and shockingly low sugar and calories. 130 calories, that's it. Just sink your teeth into that first bite and it'll change your life forever. I am not kidding. There will be a time before you try these new Built Bar flavors and the magical, wonderful time afterwards. You're probably wondering, which is my new favorite? It's an unanswerable question, to say the least. They're all unbelievable, and they're all different. So you can order a mixed box, and try all 5 flavors for yourself. Built. You got to try this. Get 15% off your order right now by using the code LOCKEDON15 at BuiltBar.com. All right, I do want to head back to 1 second because I haven't been able to find it, and it's not like I haven't looked. We mentioned in the top of the show, Grayson McCall is going to play for Coastal Carolina. He is in the transfer portal, but he will play in the bowl game on the 27th, the Birmingham Bowl. Have not found out. I've looked. I will continue to look if Austin Reed from Western Kentucky is going to play South Alabama in the New Orleans Bowl. Austin Reed, basically the second leading passer in the nation, over 4,000 yards. They run a great offense there in Western Kentucky. Bailey Zappi of the Patriots, a record-setting season last year. And so it'll be a big deal if Austin Reed is playing or he's not playing. The center, by the way, also from Western Kentucky, is hit the transfer portal. Whereas he's playing, I don't know that either. So, until I see it in print, and it was nice of Grayson McCall to say, I'm transferring, but I'm playing in the bowl game. So I need to find out more information on Austin Reed. A lot of reports out there that he's transferring. Did not see any reports on if he is playing in this ball game, which is a week from tomorrow. So that's interesting news that Grayson McCall is playing, and we're not exactly sure if Austin Reed is not. I'm going to guess that he's going to play. That would be my guess. I don't have any reason to guess that, other than it makes him look better. And if you go into the transfer portal, it kind of makes you look a little bit bad. I don't have a problem with transferring, but you're kind of leaving your teammates hanging. So I don't care if you make it all by yourself when you transfer, but if you're the quarterback and you kind of bail on the team right before the bowl game and you're planning on going pro, it doesn't look great. Doesn't look great. So I'm going to guess that he's going to play. Again, I could be totally wrong. I have no idea. I don't think it looks very good, but I could be totally wrong. I would think he's going to play. I just haven't seen it in writing or in print just yet. It's not like I haven't looked. I have looked, and I will look again on Tuesday. It may be time to, make a phone call instead of just trying to search it online. All right, we will be back on Wednesday. I will be previewing, and the reason I need to find out about Austin Reed is because we're going to preview the New Orleans Bowl, South Alabama, and Western Kentucky. Also doing a little bit of a road trip this week, going to Louisville, Kentucky. My niece is graduating nursing school, and this is kind of the family get-together for the holidays. So hopefully we will have episodes on Thursday and Friday. Certainly should have one on. I should have it. Travel plans may be an issue with weather, but one way or another, I should have episodes Thursday and Friday. Want to thank you very much for tuning in to Locked On Sunbelt. I'm your host, Dave Schultz. We will be back again on Wednesday, we will preview the New Orleans Bowl, South Alabama, and Western Kentucky. Again, this is Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day.